Welcome travelers from the winding trails. Grab a spot by the hearth and a pint of ale. A brief respite from our noble quest. Lean back in a chair for the Song of Rest. Hello travelers, and welcome to the Song of Rest, a place where our heroes and the deities that guide them gather to share a behind the scenes and behind the screens look at the unfolding adventures in Archipeldia. Gathered before us is the Dungeon Master, Aaron Rollins, and his band of players, Dustin Bleschmidt, Janelle Wilkie, and Chad Stafford. But I'll let them do the talking, and I'll get back to playing.
Leaning back.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah!
That's a full lead.
Yeah! Brett made it on the freaking story arc. Hey, Brett.
Well, I mean, he is a hero. He is a hero to us all, so he deserves to be here. He's got a story to tell.
Man, they're lowering their hero standards here on the story arc, apparently.
Hey.
Motivational cheer.
Hey, Brett saved your set, Timothy.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, sorry, you keep playing.
No,
Don't
it's
worry
fine.
about it.
No, it's fine. I totally understand.
All right. Well, that was one heck of an episode full of feels. Yeah, for sure. Wow. Like,
it started out so silly, and then
so
yeah,
sad.
roller coaster.
My goodness.
Yeah.
So
and then he hit us with the feels.
I do have starting it out here. I have a question. Where did Jive Horse get the ability to do Jive Horse's irresistible dance at such a wide area of effect? Because that's what I felt like that was.
So I like to think that Timothy really just woke up the inner Jive Horse. The sleeper has been awoken. And that it's just I guess a happenstance. I thought it was fun to roll with it, and that Jive Horse becomes this like center of joy and I don't know, chill. You know,
my headcanon is that there's a portion of Miriam inside of Jive Horse. Oh, nice.
Well, it is funny because you guys talked about how like I'm pretty sure my spells don't last that long.
Yeah.
That was so funny. Oh my gosh. What a callback, because like I wouldn't like, props to you, Dustin, because I would not have remembered that whole thing was like a spell cast.
Yeah.
From
yeah.
so many
Are
episodes
we talking
ago.
about Brett right now?
Yeah, like not even just so many episodes ago, but for people listening, like they could just listen to an episode after episode as they come out. But for us, it's like months between certain recording sessions. So the fact that you like had recall for that, oh my God, I was laughing so hard. So funny.
Jive Horse was just a minor illusion that Timothy cast, and it stuck. The headphones.
Oh, so you know what we'll need? We'll need Jive Horse with Timothy Biscuit's headphones from the Song of Rest art.
Oh, that's true.
That's
exactly what needs to happen.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm feeling that vibe right now.
That's
that
the
is
golden
dope.
ticket, my dude.
Real.
I am so excited. I'm totally gonna make like a sticker or something of Jive Horse. You've got to find your inner Jive Horse.
Everyone's got to find their inner Jive Horse, man. Also, art drop for this episode being the most adorable little Cthulhu cat I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
A great job with that art. I think it is gorgeous, especially knowing, like, seeing both of the Cthulhu styles. It's just so cool that when you see, what is it that they do now, especially on Instagram, it's like this draw this in your style thing.
Yes.
And so like one concept can just continuously like grow and grow and grow and have so many different amazing and beautiful art forms, all stemming from like, well, this is stemming from a joke that we did. Chris Veracti Veracti, who is on our sister podcast RD20s when we were doing some hype for the book that Cthulhu comes from. That was basically a pet that he had created and homebrewed for his character that was obsessed with Cthulhu. And now here we are, and it has been immortalized in a book, and now it's re-immortalized as a familiar in our podcast.
It's so cool.
It's awesome. That's the first I've heard about that. All I've seen of Cthulhu was the reference in Caitlin's book, which, by the way, another plug for the complete McKaig Creature Compendium. Check it out.
There's
Check
some
it
good
out.
stuff in there. And
You're
that's
gonna
actually
find-
this is part's gonna, I don't think there's any way of watching it though, but that was the first time the character of Timothy was played.
Oh, yeah.
It was a different name then, but it was practically the same character for one of the live streaming events to promote the book.
That is so crazy. Some deep origins.
We got a lot of interconnected webs going on here.
There's a lot of webs that have been woven, and now they're all coming together right here.
It's amazing.
And what you're going to find out is that Brandy is really the only Cthulhu, and it's just the different stories about the same cat.
Oh, that would be great.
She's a celestial entity.
Brandy has entered all of our brains, and now we all have false memories of Brandy.
Well, now I'm really questioning, like, are you like Brandon's like kid's babysitter? Is Brandon like a giant Cthulhu, and this is Brandy is Brandon's kid? And I've got a lot of questions about Brandy, which I'm sure we'll find out about.
We never saw the bottom half of Brandon. There could have been a giant cat body under the water.
I mean,
we're not for sure.
You guys probably didn't even see Brandon in general. You've only heard tale of him.
We have seen maybe a tentacle.
Like one tentacle, yeah.
Well, the distant voice of friendship.
Oh my.
I don't think you guys have seen Brandon at all. I mean, like, we've talked about Brandon.
We've tried. We have tried to manifest Brandon.
I think early in the episode, you mentioned a tentacle or something. I don't know.
I felt like at one point we joked that we were like rock skipping Boggles, and he caught one
to Brandon.
Yes.
Yeah, but around Adristia, it was all that black water.
Acid water.
Yeah.
That's true.
So he's lived on in our hearts, but only Flowercrout has ever met Brandon.
Yeah. Yeah, Caitlin gave me permission to kind of reskin her concept of Cthulhu, which is a more purpley one, and it also even has like little bits of fur on it. I kind of liked the idea that Brandy would be like have octopus skin almost, so she can be out of water for a little bit, but she'll kind of need it. Otherwise, she'll kind of shrivel up and turn like to a terrifying like mummified cat. But
that's very fitting for Flowercrout because you're an aquatic half elf, so like both of you need to douse yourself every once in a while,
Oh yeah, and I have to tell you guys because Aaron and I had to have this discussion about what my familiar would be, and I was like, oh, maybe it's an octopus, and Aaron was the one that thought like, oh, maybe it should be a cat. And I'm like, would Flowercrout have a cat? She's always around water. I don't know if she would have a cat. But then, like, then it just hit me, like, we had to use Cthulhu.
Oh, yeah. And I've been so excited for this moment when you finally were able to summon her.
My goodness, it's been a discussion, and because I know that you guys, like, Janelle's part of an art group, and they all knew about Cthulhu, about Brandy.
I didn't know.
And, like,
it was a surprise.
I didn't know. I just knew of it, like there was something. And so like every episode we recorded, I'm like, I need to know. This is worse than Christmas. Like, I need to know what it's going to be. Like, is it going to be something Brandon-esque? And I am so glad that we have Brandy in our lives now.
I think we touched on that concept of like a little floating squid or something that was like a miniature
this is
Brandon
perfect.
for a while. But
This is
this is
perfect.
great.
I think Brandy ended up being perfect.
And with the color choices that you use, Janelle, I can totally see a bioluminescent quality
Oh yeah.
to Brandy.
I know you said that Brandy likes to cuddle. Was there any inspiration, especially in the headpiece of a cuttlefish?
Ah, yeah. Absolute 100%. Yes. I wanted her to have a little bit more squid-like features just to kind of go along with Brandon instead of like octopusy, but
Yeah, because
I shouldn't have
we
said
don't want to
octopusy.
piss off the people in charge of
like the
James
Bond,
Bond
villain or the Bond girl.
Yeah, your familiar's just a like 5'6" blonde woman.
But yeah, it's funny because I made that art like pretty soon after deciding that I was going to do a cat Thulu for the familiar, and it killed me that I couldn't show you guys. So I did share with the art group, which all of your wives are a part of. So yeah, Chad's not wife, but it's like girlfriend, whatever.
all of our significant ladies in our
others.
lives.
Yes.
Not part of the cool club yet.
Ah.
See how it is. Take my vocals somewhere else.
Yeah, then you'll have to be like me and remember to take your ring off before we record, so I'm not doing this crap all freaking.
Oh no, it
especially
no.
doesn't help that there are two people in this conversation right now that actively edit the podcast. It's not like we send it out to anybody else. Like we do all this in house, so we're just like, Aaron, one of my best friends. If you tap your mother effing ring one more time, you will lose a finger.
Right
You
here.
will actually lose a
off
finger.
and remove all pens from the area.
But yeah, so your guys' significant others didn't reveal Brandy to you?
No.
Well,
Good job.
I mean, I already knew about it, but
Aaron, you knew all about her.
yeah.
But yeah, so good job, Allie and Amber.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was half expecting as soon as it popped, whatever it was popped out, that it was suddenly going to be like, oh, hey, hi, everybody. It's been me the whole time. I'm not big. I'm small.
It was just a matter of forced perspective.
No, but this is awesome. This is a surprise for me, and I love it. And Brandy has so much character already, and she's only had like 10 lines.
Oh my god, the sliding of the pillows and blankets under the door was so funny to me. And it was nice too because there was a lot of seriousness, which we've had little bits and pieces of here and there thus far in the podcast, but I would say this has been the most significant so far. And we still had little moments of levity that didn't make it like a total like
Downer.
yeah, I didn't want to say downer because I think you need that. I think you need that in a narrative.
Yeah.
Like you can't just be all sunshine, rainbows, and goofballs. But to have those little moments where we break, like when Sherman brought like the garbage tin to the table, like those little moments, like make it feel more real. Especially when you have a lot of people who have coping mechanisms of humor, and I think a lot of us relate to that when we're dealing with these kind of stressful situations. And it was also a nice way to make playing that out feel, I don't want to say easier, but it came a little bit more natural too.
I think that's 100%. I find that without realizing it, I put a lot of my, I guess almost subconscious mannerisms into Sherman. Especially things like, oh crap, two of my coping mechanisms, making jokes and eating food. Right there. And I didn't realize that until you said something.
I think we had a good couple moments of comedy. Like when I pictured Flowerkraut standing up on one of the buildings in town using thaumaturgy, cackling and laughing as the as the little Frode finally caught one. You know,
Oh man, if I got one, oh, so tasty. Smells like farts though.
I don't even mind. I don't even mind the farts. I don't even mind.
And Timothy continuing the joke about the dancing still happening.
yes.
Mhm.
And the dip me for Sherman.
The one of like 2 roles I think we had this entire session, which is kind of wild. Like this was a true audio drama more than it was like a D&D podcast. This was just straight up role playing, which is kind of awesome.
Yeah.
I felt like it, like, you know, it took away the mechanics of it and it was just really about the characters, which I think is a fun change of pace every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy that balance where I think sometimes an episode that gets completely consumed in just combat, which, you know, is cool because there's some epic moments in that, and there, you know, sometimes the dice are the ones that are telling the story. It's nice to have these episodes where we're digging down and, you know, actually, you know, discovering more about our characters or more about what's going on, and not just going, oh, I'm just going to roll dice and see what happens. You know, it's like,
Speaking of, we got a nice snippet of Timothy's past, and I'm curious, did you guys come up with those visuals together?
Yeah.
Or what was the whole process with that?
so, you know, like,
No, that was, I mean, Aaron and I talked a lot about Timothy's backstory and kind of like wrote up a whole, without giving too much away, because I'm sure it'll come up,
Right.
but like, and Aaron, feel free to like either stop me or fill in the details, but him and I sat down and kind of came up with like a timeline of like why Timothy became what he is now, because we knew that certain people who play D&D would see a Kenku and be like, how does a Kenku talk? They're all about mimicry. So we kind of came up with that. And then we gave him this character that mattered to him to just fill out this backstory and like how he learned how to be a musician. And then when it came, I didn't know about the dream sequence like that. I'm sure all of you were caught, like, not off guard, but like we're like, oh, we're bringing this in now. Let's dive in.
Yeah.
Put on your snorkel gear. We're diving.
I think the first person was caught a little off guard when they didn't wake up in the morning feeling rested and instead were plunged into a dream sequence. But that makes for some good role playing.
yeah. So, kind of what Chad was saying, we have, you know, discussed Timothy's backstory, but I knew that the first thing, and you can recall from, you know, the first episode, that we were going to have to do something to basically establish that he's a Kenku that's speaking, because, you know, like he said, every D&D, you know, player is going to be like,
Actually, Kenku can only mimic, and they can't just talk like this.
and so, you know, me pointing that out to you, Flowerkraut, was you've met a Kenku before. You've known of Kenku because you've traveled widely, and you've never met one that could just speak freely like this, because they always just mimic voices. So there was going to be some mystery behind Timothy from the get-go that would just kind of go, okay, well, we'll set that aside, knowing that there's something about him and why he's able to do this that will get explained later.
And yeah, I think you even briefly mentioned like, hey, yeah, Kenku do not normally speak, because prior to this podcast, I had very little knowledge of like the D&D world. So yeah, you told me that Kenku do not normally speak; they mimic. And I think because we did a couple sessions together to kind of practice
The
how our
protosodes.
characters' chemistry would be. Yes, the protosodes, and so that's why I made it so that Flowerkraut kind of was suspicious of him and thinking maybe it was like a wizard in disguise or something initially in that first episode. So yeah, I'm excited to see, like, learn more about this and how he got his voice and everything.
Yeah, and it also gives us, we have little hints of a sense of greater scale and direction for where we might be headed. We have 2 kernels of, we know a short term, we're going to Magit or Magit, long term, we might be going back to the Feywild by way of Stellamaris? Maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know if like we were closed off from the portal. So in Timothy's mind right now, he's like, I want to help, but I don't want to leave this place because in terms of the Feywild, that's the only way I know how to get back.
Right.
Mhm.
The one
Right.
thing
Yeah.
though is that from what you guys have seen of the Feywild in Archipeldia is that the islands mirrored in the Feywild are floating islands in the sky. And so different points of the Feywild can't always be accessed from the Feywild. So like if you were to go to the Feywild here on Praxel and you needed to get somewhere else, you're stuck on a floating island.
Gotcha. So we need to go back
Oh.
to, we need to find the correct landmass
Right.
to do the jump.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Kernel
Archipeldia,
of knowledge
the-
right there.
or the Sea of Archipeldia, the fact that it's an ocean is kind of like the bridge between the islands in the Feywild, because you can then, but it's also what method can you use to get into the Feywild? You guys have seen that the hags have the power that they stole from Miriam that gives them the ability to go in and out of the Feywild at will. They can summon things from the Feywild. They can pop into the Feywild. Every time that they do that, you see that white glow happening, so you know that that's what they're using to be able to do that. Normally, that's a very powerful ability to be able to plane shift, just boom, like that, you know?
Little plane hoppers.
Yeah.
And before we were diving into like the characters having these nightmare or dream sequences, I definitely thought at one point we were going to bring up the idea that, and it's a little terrifying from a narrative standpoint, because every time we defeat one of these hags, the rest gets stronger. So every time we defeat one, the rest level up.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Because if they're gobbling up the remainder of the light each time, then that just means it's going to get harder and harder for us.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, this is a visual back from the end of episode 9, where you had like all the hands going after the piece of heart.
Absolutely terrifying visual. I could literally see it, and I didn't
Yeah.
like it, but I commend you for creating such a visceral image for my brain to not like.
So which one of you guys is going to draw that scene?
Not me. I do not call it. I don't even, my style is not conducive for scary imagery.
Mm.
I am happy to give it a go.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh, but
Speaking-
yes, fan art moment.
Yeah.
Oh,
let's
yeah.
talk about
Moments.
fan
There we
art from
go.
this episode.
We have a lot of options.
My personal one was, because I was imagining this as it was happening, was Timothy and Sherman standing in front of Flowerkraut's door. Timothy holding a bunch of pillows and Sherman holding blankets and sheets. And they're holding them kind of like a 3-year-old would be holding them in front of mom and dad's door, as they're like, I had a bad dream.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's what I was going for. Good.
And they're both
I
in
feel
PJs.
like that would be a perfect one for Chad's comic style. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
This is also the first that's also the first time that Sherman's been in pajamas. So I've got to believe that he has one of those sleeping hats, like with the little
Yes.
pom pom.
Aww.
He's 4. Sherman is literally 4 years old.
Yeah.
Like he's had such an accelerated life. Like each year has been like 7 dog years of life. So, but
Yeah.
he's still a baby. So of course he
Yeah.
would have pajamas.
Of course.
I have my fan art moment very similar to that is actually also a it is a Timothy Sherman collaboration, if you will. But when you mentioned, is that paper? Are you like ruffling something behind?
I heard
And then I was
a
like-
page turn.
And I was like, oh crap. And I reached over and I grabbed some paper and I kept on flipping the pages as I finished saying the theirs. And I'm like, so just imagining
Oh my
someone reading
gosh.
how to be an emotional support animal, like while they're being an emotional support animal.
It has illustrations on it, like Pat
Do the pat.
head.
There.
Sherman, do you
there.
wear glasses?
Like when you
That's
hugged
He's got like
Helene,
his reading. He's got his reading glasses on.
it sounded like you were reading at first. I was like, oh, okay. So he's got the pamphlet behind her.
Yeah. So
if not a
was
comic for
mine.
that one, then a GIF.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would
Yes,
be funny.
that would be
Just-
good.
The papers flipping.
Little
And then it
animation.
came full circle when you guys like confessed your friendship and love and were hugging each other and you're both going,
And they're there.
There, man.
Funny.
That was great.
Oh.
I pulled some energy for that from that. There's a video of, hey, I made you a sandwich. And the other guy's like, you made me a sandwich? And they keep getting more and more like, yeah, man, this is for you, man. This is for me.
God.
Take a bite, bro. Just take a bite. Like that was the same energy.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
We got 2 more fan art moments. Who's next?
Let's see. I think it's a tough call. Like there's some funny like dancing moments that we might need that I might need to do. Flowerkraut dipping Amelia and being like this, and then Sherman's like this, and then, like failing is awkward.
just drops. He just drops them.
Or I might even I'll do like multiple drawings, so we'll see where it goes, and Chad can do like a couple comics or 1 or 2 comics of a couple of these moments too. But I was thinking maybe doing an art piece of Flowerkraut's what do we call it? Not pentagram, the
Pentaclam.
The pentaclam?
Pentaclam.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, her summoning Brandy for the first time.
It's a special moment.
It is a special moment.
We waited so long for it.
I was telling Aaron, like, it would be hilarious if he did the same exact intro to, like, as Yzma's cat, where it's like,
What's that? My voice?
All right.
What about Chad? What do you think?
I really enjoyed, and it was such a small segment, but I really enjoyed Sherman and Timothy going to the pub, everyone freaking out, saying like, well, if we're going to die, let's get drunk first. And then the Fro just like collapsing right at the front door as Sherman and Timothy are trying to explain the situation. And then he's just like, sup, and then just hops away. Like, I just imagine this Frode,
Sup.
like there's 2 windows and he's so wide that each eye is at one side of the building. And then just his mouth is revealed through the open door. It just, I don't know. I have that visual in my head. It's just really funny to me.
That's great.
I like
And
that
then
a
I
lot.
think, Aaron, you said you were just like, oh, here it is. Time to go. Like, so just nonchalant about it. So funny.
This is our doom. We've been in this bar for 2 days.
I didn't feel like, harvesting next year anyways.
I've been standing in this bar for 2 days waiting for this.
I'm sloshed.
Nice.
Oh,
At least
man.
I'm numb. It's not gonna hurt, right? Right.
I have some things mulling about in Sherman's head right now that are great cliffhanger Song of Rest material. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw those out here. One, the apostleship was very close. Question that doesn't need to be answered, of course, but maybe something that we can talk about in episode 11. How far is Praxel from Adristia, and could there have been an investigation happening of what happened to Adristia that the apostleship was sent out to? and they just happened to be not terribly far from Praxel when they got the message. 2, Sherman just had a nightmare involving what was his last pair of best friends who were basically torn apart just by the directions of life. And if we go back to episode 0 for Sherman, Bernice joined the apostleship. And so Sherman's got to be thinking, what if this is a weird, like, this can't just be a weird coincidence? What if I can find somebody there that I know, like, that I actually know, that might be able to at least help me figure out, like, what happened to my own ship, So yeah, there's a lot of questions mulling around in the old Sherman Nog right now.
Good questions.
Aaron's taking notes.
Pen click sound. Scribble, scribble, scribble.
So those are
wink.
my noggin puzzles right now.
It's definitely a good
so-
point. I didn't even think about like the obvious repercussions of an island completely disappearing off the map, and if that's already been investigated, because I in my brain keep forgetting that not a lot of time has passed for us as characters, just because of how long we produce these episodes for.
Yeah.
So sometimes you associate that timeline with the characters' lives. Like, no, it's only been like maybe a week at this point, probably a little less.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you guys
Oh,
had,
it's so crazy.
you woke up on the story arc, so that technically ended day 1. Then you went to sleep at Wallach, that ended day 2. Then you left and came back to Wallach and slept again. So you guys have only had 3 long rests this entire time. But speaking of timelines, when Amelia told you guys you'd been gone for 2 days, while you guys had in your time been gone for like 3 or 4 hours into the Feywild, that is something that I wanted to, like, I guess I never got a really good opportunity to convey that while you were in the Feywild. That time was transpiring differently. And that, because one thing that Laminaria was hedging was that you were going to stay in the Feywild longer, and that more time would pass in the material plane, and the barrier would fade while you were still gone. So, but that was one thing I wanted to make sure that part was kind of clarified in this episode, so that you guys knew any other times that you go into the Feywild, the time's going to be weird,
So you're
Gotcha.
saying
Got
there's
it.
a chance.
You're also saying that we have been waiting 3 days for this. I've been here 3
drenched.
days. Ay, ay.
But we need to be mindful of it going forward, then, it sounds like.
It's like almost like Fey diving.
Mm.
Ooh, I like that. Fey
That's a
diving.
cool term.
Gear up. It's time to dive.
Y'all, I just needed someone transform me into a seagull. Apparently they make good time.
Oh yeah, apparently.
Ooh.
I have a new dream now.
Maybe we should wrap this one up.
Yes.
Put a bow on it.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again for listening, and we're out. Bye.
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 Thank you so much for listening to our Song of Rest. If you like the adventures your ears just wit on, feel free to listen in on our other adventures from any plane of existence or seeing stone you get your podcasts. Until we meet again, safe journeys, travelers.
What's up, BB Army? Thank you all so much for listening to today's episode of Break, Battle, and Roll. We hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed making it. If you can't get enough of Break, Battle, and Roll, be sure to follow our Instagram and Twitter, both at Break, Battle, Roll, or swing by and like the Break, Battle, and Roll Facebook page, where you can mingle with us and other members of the BB Army in between episodes. If you want to keep up with our cast, you can find Chad Stafford on his Instagram and Twitter at It's Chit Chad, as well as his YouTube pages, Chit Chad and Chit Chad Plays. Aaron Rollins on Twitter is at AARKUMA, that's R Kuma. Janelle Wilkie on Instagram at janelle.wilkie, that's JANELLE.WILKE. And me, Dustin. Catch me on twitch.tv/thefinaldestination, Instagram and TikTok as at @the_final_destination, and on Twitter at FINL Destination, because Twitter likes short names. We'd like to give a special thank you to our musicians Ben Holland for creating our absolutely shredding theme song. You can find Ben on SoundCloud, and Rory O'Neill for his phenomenal background compositions. You can find Rory as at Trench Roar Fair on Twitter. Gotta love that pun. We'd also like to give a shout out to what we would call our sister podcast, the Roaring D20s podcast. Follow them on Instagram and Twitter at RD20s podcast. That's RD, the number 2, the number 0, S podcast. Lastly, if you want to support the show, the best way you can help us right now is to spread the word. Do you have a friend who likes D&D or is way into podcasts? Send them our way. On top of that, the great Googly Moogly has told us that ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts will help share our adventures with more listeners. Again, thank you all so much for listening. Now, where was that delicious fish smell coming from? Uh-oh. Later, BB Army. I've got to get Sherman before he gets into Flowerkraut's mortar and pestle bag again. We will see you all in the next episode.